Welcome to Jesus or Muhammad. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are day number 3 with Sam Shamoun and David Wood. These past couple of nights we have talked about the Fort Hood massacre that happened, and we also talked about some verses that Muslims often use to defend Islam, to claim that Islam is a religion of peace. And what we'll do tonight is sort of a continuation of yesterday evening, and we will go through a few of the main verses that Muslims use to, again, defend the religion of Islam. But before we go into that, I'm going to hand it over to David. David, you wanted to give us a short intro about Tigers for Israel and the significance of that in relation with this Fort Hood massacre. So go ahead.
Thank you, Summer. And yes, I think it's very important to see what happens after events like the Fort Hood massacre, because what we find is that Muslims do an outstanding job of pressuring people to keep them from examining the true teachings of Islam. Now, what we find with the group Tigers for Israel is this is a Jewish group, obviously a pro-Israel group. And what happened was that they had scheduled a former Muslim speaker, Nani Darwish, who was an apostate. She left Islam. They had scheduled Nani Darwish to come to Columbia and Princeton universities to speak to people about Islam. But just before Nani Darwish was about to speak at these schools, her presentation was canceled. Now, people who are wondering why she was canceled, we automatically assume that Muslims pressured the administration of these universities and that these administrations canceled the event. But what the facts revealed was that it was the Jewish group themselves. The Jewish group canceled the presentation, and let me give their explanation as to why. Here's what we have from the president of Tigers for Israel. On Tuesday evening, Tigers for Israel and Wig Cleo rescinded our co-sponsorship of today's Nani Darwish lecture. Tigers for Israel accepted the opportunity for her to speak based on a misconception about what she actually believes. After her anti-Islam position was brought to my attention on Tuesday afternoon by the Center for Jewish Life Director Rabbi Julie Roth and the Muslim chaplain, I conducted extensive research and discussed the issue with Tigers for Israel and Wig Cleo leadership, and we decided to rescind our co-sponsorship after concluding that Tigers for Israel disagrees with and does not condone Ms. Darwish and her beliefs on Islam. As president of Tigers for Israel, I take full responsibility for not vetting Ms. Darwish from the beginning, and I sincerely apologize for offending any person or group on campus, especially the Muslim community. Tigers for Israel deeply regrets the initial sponsorship, and we do not in any way endorse her views. So here you have a Jewish group saying we will not allow any anti-Islamic comments or views. We will not sponsor this sort of thing. We don't want this on our campus. A Jewish group saying we don't want a presentation on what Islam teaches because we will not tolerate that sort of anti-Islamic or Islamophobic sentiments on campus. Now, the reason this is disturbing, especially for anyone who's studied the Muslim sources, is that what Muhammad taught about the Jews is very, very disturbing. And just let me give you a few quotations from Muslim sources, the Quran and the most reliable hadith, about Muhammad's view of the Jews. In Surah 5:51, "O you who believe, do not take the Jews and the Christians for your friends. They are friends of each other. And whoever amongst you takes them for a friend, then surely he is one of them. Surely Allah does not guide the unjust people. Do not become friends with Jews." 5:64, "And the Jews say the hand of Allah is tied up. Their hands shall be shackled, and they shall be cursed for what they say. Nay, both his hands are spread out. He expends as he pleases, and what has been revealed to you from your Lord will certainly make many of them increase in inordinacy and unbelief. And we have put enmity and hatred among them," the Jews, "till the day of resurrection." There's enmity and hatred among the Jews until the day of resurrection. 582, "Thou wilt find the most vehement of mankind in hostility to those who believe to be the Jews and the idolaters. The biggest enemies of the Muslims, according to the Quran, you'll always find to be the Jews and the polytheists." And of course, we can't forget Surah 929 and 930. According to Surah 929, Muslims are commanded to fight both Jews and Christians, and the next verse tells us why. It's because of our beliefs. Jewish and Christian beliefs force Muslims to fight us, and the Muslims are told to fight us until we are subjected to Islamic rule. Now, in the Hadith, we find some other interesting things. I'll just read 2 or 3 very quick passages. According to Sahih al-Bukhari, once the Prophet went out after sunset and heard a dreadful voice, and he said, "The Jews are being punished in their graves." If you hear a strange voice outside, it's because Jews are being punished in their graves. Also in Sahih al-Bukhari, Allah's apostle said, "The hour will not be established until you fight with the Jews, and the stone behind which a Jew will be hiding will say, 'O Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, so kill him.'" So, I mean, part of the goal of Islam is to ultimately conquer the Jews to such an extent that Jews are hiding. They're hiding anywhere they can, and wherever they try to hide, inanimate objects are crying out, "Here's a Jew, he's hiding, come kill him." These are not unreliable sources. This is Sahih al-Bukhari, and it's multiple times. It occurs multiple times in Islam's most trusted sources. So I would ask any Jews who may be watching, are you against these claims? Are you against these claims? Are you for these claims? There are only 3 possibilities. You're either for the claims, or you're against the claims, or you really don't care one way or another. You're fine with them. But what we find from Jewish groups on campuses is we will not allow anyone to speak against these Muslim views. Well, what are you thinking? What could you possibly be thinking? Are you saying that you will not tolerate anyone who denies that you're going to hell, that Muslims should come and fight you, that Muslims should conquer you, that Muslims should force you and subjugate you to either accept Islam or to pay them for the right to survive? Is this what you believe? Or are you against these teachings? If you're against these teachings, why are you stopping people who want to tell people and warn people about what Islam teaches concerning the Jews? And when I saw this, when I saw what was going on, I was reminded of a writing by a Jewish survivor of the Holocaust. Is a very famous book. Elie Wiesel in Night describes his experience in the Jewish concentration camp at Auschwitz. And what's most disturbing to me about this entire ordeal was he didn't have to suffer at Auschwitz. His family and his town did not have to suffer at Auschwitz. Many of them were killed. A few of them survived. Elie Wiesel was one of the survivors, and he didn't have to go through that. Why? Well, not long before the entire town was rounded up, the Germans came and took a number of Jews away from the town, hauled them off in cattle cars, and one of them ultimately escaped. Because what the Germans did, they took them out, forced them to dig their own trenches, and then killed them all. Well, they shot one, a man named Moishe. They called him Moishe the Beetle. They shot this man, and they left him for dead, but he survived. And he didn't want to live anymore based on what he had seen. The only thing he wanted was to get back and warn his town about what he had seen. So he got to the town, and he kept warning them and telling them, "I'm telling you what these Germans are doing. They're taking us to kill us." No one believed him. No one believed him in the town. What do you mean the Germans are coming to do this? The Germans? They're the most enlightened people in the world. They're producing the best symphonies. They're producing the best plays. They're producing the best scientists and physicists. How could these people be coming to round us up in a barbaric fashion and send us off to kill us? This can't be. You're ridiculous. And let me read a brief passage. Moishe wept and pleaded, "Jews, listen to me. That's all I ask of you. No money, no pity. Just listen to me." He kept shouting in synagogue between prayer at dusk and the evening prayer. "Even I did not believe."